Welcome to They Tried to Bury Us. My name is Tamer Kattan. I'll be your host. I'm a comedian, a writer, and an actor. I was born in Egypt and moved to America when I was just a kid, so I'm very proud of being an immigrant. And ever since I started doing comedy, I've met more and more immigrants, and I have found more and more amazing stories, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I'm going to have a new guest. They're going to sit down and share with us their American origin stories, and we're going to get to know each other better, and we're going to find out that we're all just the same. So tune in each week, tell every single person you know, and thanks for listening. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of They Tried to Bury Us. I'm Tamer Kattan, and with me as always is my co-host.
Kity.
Hi Mom, how are you?
I'm very good. Too cold today.
It is too cold
Very
today.
cold,
I like that you're wearing like 3 sweaters.
Yeah.
like a mentally ill person on the subway.
Hey, I'm old woman. I shrink. Everything shrink on me.
No, you're not shrinking. I'm just kidding. Hey, we have a very special episode of They Tried to Bury Us today with a special guest, our first guest actually, who's Skyping in for an interview. Please everyone welcome Jessica Breitschwert-Monfred. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Your name is so awesome because it's like this cultural, it's like the United Nations of names.
That's true.
That was great. So thank you so much for being here. I know you and I have tried coordinating different times with the time differences and then technology and trying to sync up our video and all this stuff. So I'm really glad to finally have you on the show, and thanks for being patient with us.
Well, thank you for going to all this trouble to arrange
No,
this.
of course. I got to tell you, when you started telling me about your story and your husband's story, your pictures were so great. I mean, you could look at those pictures and right away be like, wow, those guys are really in love.
Thank you.
I love your wedding photos. So this is such a unique experience. I got to tell you, I remember growing up and going to English as a second language, ESL class. And that's what you teach ESL, right?
Yeah, on the weekends, I teach an ESL class, and during the week, I teach regular classes.
Okay, so I didn't mean to pre-start the story, but it's such a great story. So why don't you tell me your story? What brought you to They Tried to Bury Us, and how has immigrant culture clashed with Jessica? And where you're in Maine?
Maryland.
I'm sorry. You know what it is, Mom?
It's okay.
She's close to Heba. That's what Maryland in Washington.
Nobody knows who Heba is, Kate.
Oh, okay. My cousin.
I am close to DC though.
Yeah. My cousin live in Washington, but sometimes she tell me she drive to Maryland, so I figure,
Maryland. You know what it was, Jessica? I wanted you to live in Maine because your husband is in Spain and outside there is rain. And I was so excited.
You made that great song.
I wanted to do it so badly. My brain was tricking me into believing it was Maine, but Maryland is even better. Screw Maine. Go to hell, Maine.
Very beautiful face with a beautiful smile.
Oh,
I love it. Yeah.
Well, Mom, before we turn this into the dating game, she's married.
It's okay. No, that's the smile give you pleasure to talk to her.
You're right. I think it's something I'm envious of you ladies. You guys can compliment each other like that.
Yeah.
Not once has Paul told me I have a beautiful face.
Well,
Not
I tell
once.
Paul lots of compliment.
See how she struggles with a P in your name?
Yeah.
Say Paul one more time.
Paul. Might be funny teacher, English teacher. The Egyptian always very bad with
It's hard with the P, yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. I remember in Egypt they kept saying son of a buppy. And I'm like, what's a buppy? And then you explained to me that they were saying puppy.
It's sad.
Like son of a bitch. They said son of a buppy.
They try to
Isn't that absurd? It's ridiculous.
Very crazy. Yeah.
All right. So listen, we're so happy to have you here. Why don't you tell us your story? Because I think it's a great story and an important one to tell, especially now.
Oh, well, thank you. So I've been teaching this ESL class for a while now, and Puya, my husband, his parents attend, and after knowing them a couple months, they were like, oh, we really like you. And they brought up to me, we were at a party once, and they said, oh, we have a son who's in Spain. And I thought, oh, that's, cool, nice to know.
So Puya was in Spain, and you only knew his parents. You didn't know him yet.
No, I didn't know him at all. And then that was around Thanksgiving of 2015 or 2018. So a couple weeks later, I get this phone call, and it was their daughter, Atusa. And I mean, I had never met her, had never spoken to her. And she calls me and she said, so my parents really like you. And I go, oh, well, thank you. And I thought she was going to ask me to like give them like extra classes, like on the side or something, you know? And she's like, yeah, so I have a brother in Spain. And I was like, oh yeah, they'd mentioned that. And she's like, yeah, so would you be interested in marrying him? And I was like,
Wow.
What? And
this is the first time you guys had spoken.
First time we had spoken, you know, but because her parents, you know, I mean, their English is pretty good, but I guess they didn't feel fully confident to say that to me.
Sure.
And so I immediately jumped into a whole list of reasons why I probably wasn't qualified for that and stuff. And
had you known anything about Puya yet at this point? Had you seen pictures or anything?
I think they showed me maybe one picture when they mentioned him, but like they mainly just were like, yeah, we have a son. He's working on his PhD in computer science in Spain. So yeah, that was the extent of what I knew.
But nothing was under the romantic category.
No, yeah. I mean, I didn't really know anything else about him. And I said, because I had actually been married very young and had gotten divorced. And I said, hadn't really planned on getting married again. Like it wasn't something I was thinking of pursuing at the time. Yeah. And, you know, I said, you know, I really like your parents. I said, if it's cool with you all, I'm fine with getting to know him and seeing where maybe things go. And so that next day I got an email from him. And by the end of the week, we did our first Skype and got to see each other like face to face.
Wait, but can I ask you that first night? So his sister, you get this phone call from their daughter, and she tells you, "Hey, the man you've been hearing about who's getting his PhD in Spain, would you want to marry him?" And you'd seen his picture only once. So that night when you said, well, why not? Let's give it a chance, which I commend you on. I think that's a really great attitude.
And it wasn't even like a chance to get married. It was just like a chance to like
get to know each other.
Talk. Yeah, you know.
I'll tell you, I have a really interesting relationship with this notion of parents and siblings setting people up, or even arranging things. Because even though I was born in Egypt, where arranged relationships are common, for me, I was like, I'm not that Egyptian, and I don't want to be a part of that. And I almost always rejected those sorts of relationships, and I didn't really dig into it that much. So I was very much when someone mentions those sorts of relationships, I approached it as an American and less like an Egyptian until I started watching this reality show called Arranged. And
oh, really?
Yeah, it's on Netflix somewhere. But the one thing it taught me is like when I sat down and relaxed and removed all my biases, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually really nice. Like these people's parents know them really well. It's just a different way of connecting people together. It's funny because it made me stop from being closed-minded. And I said, well, wait, there's another way of looking at this. I'm eating a pizza. I'm relaxed. I'm watching it in an entertaining fashion that feels really modern. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. Of course, no one knows you better than your own family does in a lot of ways. And sometimes you need someone to kind of, you know, it's like looking for your glasses when they're already on your head. Sometimes you need someone to be able to help you make that observation. Like, hey, this person could be a fit. So I absolutely understand where they're coming from. And I commend you on being open to possibilities.
Thank you.
But what did that? I know. Well, what did that first night feel like? Like, what did you feel like that first night when you're going? Okay, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, I immediately after I got off the phone with his sister, I called my mom, and she was in shock, and she was like laughing and like calling my dad, and she's like, "Can you believe this? Like, what do you know?" And I mean, their initial reaction was kind of like taking it as, wow, like that's such an honor that like they think so highly of you that they would want to like, and I was like, yeah, and then I called like two of my friends and they started joking and they were like, oh, we'll throw your wedding shower and so, like stuff like that. But I think we all kind of just thought it was like a joke and just like, so out there. So it was very surprising, very honoring. But I mean, I think kind of had similar ideas as you, like, oh, like arranged marriages, like that's, that's kind of a different culture from ours and stuff. But but yeah, so I mean, we started talking, and I mean, since that's all we had, being able to email, being able to Skype, I think our relationship evolved very quickly because, when you can't go on dates and you can't like go out and do things together, like you're doing a lot of talking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you really get to know each other. It's one of the positive sides of a long distance relationship. We always hear the negatives, but I think one of the positives is you savor the moments. And you really appreciate the time that you have with each other, and I remember having a relationship with a woman in a different country, and I remember going around my day, and I would almost like highlight things and be like, I'm going to talk to her about that, and I'm going to talk to her about this, I'm going to talk to her about that, right. And it was still difficult, but it wasn't as lonely as I think some of my friends thought it might have been.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's definitely made us, I would say, pretty close to experts in communicating.
I bet. So was there a turning point in the conversations where you went, wait a minute, this isn't just honor, this isn't just something that's funny. I think this could be a good fit.
So actually, because I'm a teacher, and so we started communicating around like December 5th. And so I had my winter break coming up the end of that month, and kind of out of the blue, he was like, well, hey, like, since you have off some time, and he was working in a university at the time and he had off some time, and he's like, do you want to try and like meet up? And like that definitely kind of worried my family and friends a little bit, because they're like, you like just met this guy, and I had never been outside the United States before.
Wow.
Yeah, like had never flown, outside the US by myself. And
what an adventure,
but we just decided to meet up in Barcelona. We spent like 3.5 days, and I think that kind of really solidified things for him and I. Like we were like, okay, like there is something here.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Well, that's so romantic.
But it was really cool.
But I think also because you met his parents, you have safety a little bit. You're not going to weird men or anything. You met his family. So you have safety over here. I mean, you're not
She's biased. She's a parent.
No, I believe you feel it. He's from good family or bad family. So you feel it. It's in your wish.
Intuition,
intuition, or your heart,
Yeah.
Yes. No, they are the best. They're the sweetest people.
Yeah.
So I had
really
great respect for them. So
that's awesome.
But let me ask you something. How you find out about our program?
So when we started going through the immigrant process, I joined several different immigrant Facebook pages, and that's where I saw like the kind of ad for they tried to bury us. And I think that like same day he posted, I like went over and I sent him a message, and I was like, hey, would you ever think of doing someone who's in the process of immigrating? So
yeah, that's right. We met on Facebook.
Yeah.
And there was a group for immigrants who are looking for help and support from other groups. Yeah.
Just to hear somebody, the show help somebody, it's a very good feeling.
Of course. Well, especially, I think this is one of these processes where you feel really alone, and just knowing that other people are going through the process with you helps a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask, you're in Barcelona. You guys have these 3.5 amazing days. So then it got real. It felt like, wow, this can really happen. So what was the conversation like? I mean, 3.5 days is still a short period of time.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, like, I don't know. We just were spending every minute together. We already knew so much about each other because we had been talking so much for hours. We would spend 3 to 4 hours every day, like when I got home from work, like talking in the evenings and stuff, So, but, we realized, like, because the travel ban was in place at that time, and with him being Iranian,
Yeah.
We knew that it would be hard to get him here and that the process would probably be long,
Yeah.
And so pretty quickly things like turned to like, okay, like if we really believe like we have a future together, like we want to move things along pretty quickly. So.
Yeah. Wow. You're not the first person I've heard say that. It always blows me away when a government can change its processes and then all of a sudden people have to change their lives so dramatically. Everything from gay friends who went out and got married quickly before another administration came into place, or friends that were dealing with a foreign mate and they had to figure out what to do. And so what was I imagine it's been pretty complex since. So what happened after Barcelona, after those 3.5 days?
So I came back and pretty much by like the end of January, beginning of February, we were pretty certain like that we wanted to like be together. And so I started visiting lawyers to see what our options were, because we heard about like the fiance visa and we were like, oh, that's perfect. He can come here. He can meet my family. He can see the US. But the lawyers immediately were like, with him being Iranian, that's not an option right now.
Yeah.
So that
sad.
left us with having to get married. So then we started researching, because with living in Spain's also kind of complicated government.
Sure. It's a Catholic government, right?
Yeah. And they have very for marriage, they had like a pretty big residency requirement and a lot of paperwork and the whole Catholicism thing going on.
Yeah.
So we started researching other places in Europe because he couldn't come here to get married. And so we were trying to decide between Gibraltar and Denmark won out. And So the end of March, we went to Copenhagen. We were there for a little over a week and got married.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place to get married, too.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
It's a good choice. Gibraltar's got too many drunk British guys in Speedos running around. They've taken over Gibraltar. It's all Brits now. I'm like, where are the Spanish people? It's just a bunch of drunk Brits.
Well, we made the right choice then.
Yeah, Denmark was a great choice.
Yes.
So now you get married, right? This is a moment that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. You get married. You're probably one of the happiest moments of your life. You're ready to start your life together. But then because of your circumstance, what happens next?
I mean, we got married and 2 days later I got on a plane to come back to the United States.
Alone.
Yeah, alone.
That's sad.
Alone. And he flew back to Spain.
So then what happens now?
So then we got all the paperwork together, and about a month after our marriage, we turned in our application for a CR1 visa, and then began the very long process of waiting. It took about 6 months to get approval for the first step.
What is the CR1 visa? Is that already married? So it's different than the fiance visa, the 90-day.
Right. Yeah, there's it's a marriage to a U.S. citizen. There's the CR1 and the IR1. The CR1 is conditional, meaning that because we had been married less than 2 years.
Oh.
And like when he comes here to the U.S., like his green card is only valid for like a shorter amount of time than the IR one.
Interesting. So, it's so bizarre that this whole, I don't understand where we started this stuff about like where someone is born is an indication of their character. Mm-hmm. Like this is a really crazy story. I have a friend who was dating a lady police officer, and he said, "Can you believe I'm dating a police officer? We've never had good relationships with the cops." And I'm like, "Dude, we were kids when that was happening. We were skateboarding in the streets of downtown LA. Like, of course, this is a different time. Don't be mean to cops. That's ridiculous. Do you like the girl?" He's like, "I like the girl." I'm like, "Then stop being weird." So he accepts it. He matures up a little bit, and then it turns out this female police officer was also really big into astrology. And
Oh, wow.
she had this mashup of astrology and law enforcement in her thinking,
Right.
where she told him, she's like, I don't think I can see you anymore because you're a Leo. And Leos have a tendency to be more violent than other signs.
Wow.
And I think
geez.
that you might have a little bit of that in you. And, he started talking to me about it. He's like, isn't that absurd? Isn't that crazy? And I'm like, you know what? It is absurd, but it's no more absurd that she's judging you on when you were born than people judging me on where I was born.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because you're a Leo doesn't make you a bad person, and just because I was born in the Middle East doesn't make me a bad person. It's just it's just a where versus a win. That's it. So it's just an insane thing that a government can make such a generalized statement, which I understand we have to make general laws to protect a nation. But then when it comes to a one-on-one, especially when it's dealing with an American citizen, I can't believe that they can't start going case by case. It's so ridiculous. The government has to change that because they're there to serve us, not stop us from finding love.
Right. No, it's
And especially he's educated. He's not just coming for, he's educated man.
right. Yeah. No, I mean, he would definitely be helping our society. And
So was
contributing.
Ted Bundy was educated too, Mom.
Yeah, you're right. But sometimes because they say,
See, this is the influence. When I was a kid, she's like, if you don't get your education, you'll go to jail.
No, I mean, you're not grabbing somebody from some place you don't have any background or anything. You married to somebody you know him enough to give him your life. You know, to join each other.
You're right.
So it's a very important too. So nobody tell me what to do. As long as I choose this man for me, I should be.
You know what? You're right. I think it should be a factor because if you are someone with a slightly higher education than a normal person, then you can. It should be easier for you to find work and find stability and all that stuff. I always try to hesitate saying it's just based on education.
No,
it's
it's
there's
not
a lot of
just
people.
high. No, I don't mean high education.
Yeah.
I mean he has something he can.
Of course. I just think there's a generational thing where there's people in my generation that are like, I don't know how valuable college really is anymore.
Yeah.
With
you
all
don't
the
have
debt.
to be in a college.
But you're right. I mean, someone who's pursuing a background in a special field should be a factor in also letting him into the country.
It's just somebody not coming for her money.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Now we're on an episode of 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah.
Here we go.
If somebody has good,
He can support himself, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
100%.
You don't have to have education, but you're gonna be.
You have to be able to support yourself. There you go.
Support yourself. That's it.
I'm with you on
That's the
that.
most important.
Yeah.
I don't look for higher education or position or anything like that.
So now you guys are in separate countries. He's in Spain. You're back in America. You're doing your paperwork. How's it going so far?
It's going okay. We passed the first stage about 6 months after we turned in our paperwork.
That's great.
And that was a very good day. And then it took about 30 days to be sent from USCIS to the NVC, the National Visa Center. And then it took them an additional 7.5 weeks to enter all that information into their system and to give us our case number. And luckily, we had everything pretty much ready to go. We had one slight problem, you have to upload all these documents. And one of them is I have to show that I can financially support him when he comes.
Yeah.
So I had to show them my taxes and stuff. And so apparently right at the time that I was uploading all these documents, the MVC decided to make a change in their rules and they no longer accepted tax returns. They wanted tax transcripts. So then my tax return got denied. So then I had to get the tax transcript and upload that. So, and that cost us another week and a half, which, again, this isn't, my mom always says, she's like, if something isn't impacting you, people just don't, they don't care about it. If it's
they treat you like a number. You're not a life and a person who's missing the man that she loves, and you're just another number that they have to get through.
Very soon you're gonna be lawyer.
I know, you learn the process. How are you?
My lawyer makes fun of me because I have a giant binder every time I go. He's like, "You're very prepared." But on Valentine's Day, we did get notice that all our documents were accepted.
Oh, that's great.
So
what a
now,
perfect day to get
I
that.
know,
Yeah.
it was wonderful. It was a great gift. So now our next step is waiting for his interview to be scheduled. So.
How are you guys feeling all this time? Is there a lot of anxiety as you're going through this time? I can imagine.
Wow.
Yes, a ton of anxiety. I mean, it's just, depressing because you just don't, there really is no timeline. Like, we have no clue when or if we will get through this, you know? So it's like, we could be giving up all this time, that, you keep questioning yourself and you're like, well, should I up and move to another country? And, but that's not what we want. So
sure,
it's tough.
What's been the most challenging time through this process?
I mean, just like, it's always like a hurry up and then wait. Like, you get to the next stage and it's like, all right, so turn in all these forms, pay all these fees. And then it's like, all right, now wait for a couple of months, till you get approval.
It's an expensive process too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. So, yeah. And then plus, just with traveling to see him every couple of months.
Sure.
That's adding up. So, yeah.
I mean, my God, they make you jump through so many loopholes. Is there any kind of an estimate as to how long the process might take?
Our lawyer and I've contacted Senator Van Hollen's. He has like a Middle Eastern rep. And both of them said after he has the interview, which we haven't even gotten to that yet, but after he has the interview, they said 1 to 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's way long.
So in total, I mean, when you go through the whole paperwork process, that could almost take a year in itself.
Yeah, no, we're almost to a year now.
So it's almost from the day you get married to the day you can finally live under the same roof together. It's if everything goes great, it's 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time to make someone wait. It's really crazy that I think I really think we can vet someone in a much quicker way, in a much more humane way, especially when it's an American citizen saying, I love this man. I want him here.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sad. But you know what? It shows how much love you have, and whatever you do, every step it give you courage. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, it'll absolutely be worth it.
Yeah.
You know what? If you rewind, if you gave me 3 years of being single, I traded in for 3 years of waiting for the perfect person. You know what I mean? My single years suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean he's totally worth the wait, and we're so excited, but it's just this constant, not knowing and having everything up in the air.
Sure. How's he holding up?
He has, I think, even a harder time because I mean he's an Iranian in Spain, so he's had to learn language,
Sure.
He doesn't really have any, none of his family are there, because his parents and his sister all live here, which is another thing, that we thought would help, that they're all, I mean, his sister's been here almost 15 years. So
yeah, it's funny. I saw this on an episode of 90 Day Fiance, which I did some research in pajamas while eating pizza and watching 90 Day Fiance. But there was something I learned, which was there was a couple there where there was a Jewish guy who married an American Jewish girl, and he came to the U.S. and he wanted to bring his family, and the lawyer said, we can get your mom and dad here tomorrow. Or within a year, something like that. But his brother, it was like a decade.
Yeah.
I think it was just, parents getting older, things like that. So they give special privileges to mother, father. But even to a sibling, it takes a really long time. Unless, of course, they meet someone, marry someone, etc.
Right. Yeah, because actually, Puya's sister had applied for him, and he's technically still in the lottery for that. It's been like 8 years. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how about your relationship back in America? I mean, I imagine it must be interesting that his family is around you, but he's gone.
Right.
Now that you met him face to face, and now when you come back to America, is there comfort in having like pieces of him in a way around you, or people that could tell you more about him and get to know him in different ways?
No, absolutely. I spend a lot of time with his family. I mean, I see his parents at school, and then, usually several times a month we all hang out and go over, his sister's house, and he has two nieces there and all. So,
oh, that's really
great.
Nice.
They're wonderful. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Is there anything you would have done differently? Look, if you started this process tomorrow, is there anything you'd do differently?
No. I mean, I'm completely happy with him, and I mean, unfortunately, anything that I would want to change is out of my hands.
Yeah.
Like the process itself. Like if I could magically speed that up. But.
Yeah. I think that's a healthy realization, is to know what you can and can't control. It's just a hard thing. I think as Americans too, we're not so used to our government telling us no.
Yeah.
I think that's something you're very familiar with as an Iranian or as an Egyptian, but in America, I'm not used to my government telling me I can't do something. But then when you fall in love with someone who's of a different nationality, all of a sudden it's almost like your country starts to treat you differently because you're bringing in someone of a different nationality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely very frustrating. You're right. And I mean, not that I necessarily feel entitled, but I mean, I guess to a certain extent, it made me realize, like,
sure,
as an American, I do kind of feel entitled.
Hey, it's not ways. Entitled though. I mean, listen, I've been paying taxes since my first job at KB Toy Store, and like I was like 15 years old, and they were taking 40% of my salary. So I think we have a right to complain and a right to say, hey, this process stinks.
The waiting also, it's not easy. Waiting for something you don't know when, that's not very simple. So
are there any naysayers? Are there any people? Because here's the one thing I noticed when I watched 90 Day Fiancé is there were a lot of people going, oh, that person just wants to use you. They don't. How do you know they really love you? They're just using you to get into the country. Blah blah. Are there any haters around you that are saying stuff like that, or do you have to deal with any of that? Or it's not necessarily haters. Sometimes it's paranoia. Sometimes it's fear.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think definitely my family was like really excited and kind of surprised at first. And then they kind of went through a period of like, oh, this is going really fast. Like, are we really sure about this? But I mean, now they totally love Puya. And anytime we have a family event, we have him on the phone with us and stuff.
That's neat.
I mean, and also some of my friends, I think especially because I like flew out to see him so soon after meeting him, like that also had some people kind of nervous. But anyone who's like really taken the time to like get to know him just like instantly falls in love with him too. Because I mean, he's just the sweetest guy and so easy to be with. So
So how did he do that? How did he get them to fall in love with him so quickly over the internet? Or over Skype or whatever. That's impressive. That's impressive.
I know. He's just a sweetheart. I mean, he's just the kindest, he's a gentleman. He's really great. So
they can tell he loves
very
you.
Positive. Yeah.
That's
he brings out the best in me for sure. So
that's really sweet.
That's great. Yeah.
Have other people noticed that he's had a positive effect on you? What's the positive effect?
I mean, just making me so happy because I had gone through a pretty long spell of being like depressed after my first marriage and stuff. And, I mean, and he's just so positive and that's contagious because I'm usually a more like, oh, like things are, I usually veer more towards the negative. So he's kind of really helped me to be more positive in my outlook about things. And, but I mean, the thing that spoke to me most, because my dad was probably one of the biggest, like not so sure about this. And about like maybe 2 months ago, I was talking to him and he goes, he goes, you know what? He goes, this has been the best I've ever seen you. He's like,
Wow.
makes me so happy and stuff. So
Aw,
That's really nice.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Happiness is very important, more than money, more than anything in life,
Yeah.
you know?
That's my favorite graffiti tag outside of an apartment I had in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Some guy had written, "Some people are so poor, all they have is money."
Yeah.
oh,
I-
those are-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
It was true.
Money, not
Yes.
everything. Trust me. You know?
Trust it. It makes you sound like you're a homeless lady. Money's not everything. Trust me.
No, I'm
The
old.
woman who sleeps in this box.
I'm old, so I've been through a lot, so I know money, not everything is happiness. It's number one before money. Of course, money help a lot, but the happiness number one.
yeah.
Is there anything people can do to support you in any way, like along the way, or is it just outside of sending good wishes?
Yes, prayers are always welcome. But no, I've joined kind of another group of people that were trying to collect videos for, it's called the Init Campaign, and our goal was 100. I checked the other day, we're at 82, but we're trying to collect stories from people being impacted by the ban to share with Congress. And there are several congressmen that are interested in using those as they kind of bring things up about the ban in Congress.
Yeah.
Certainly like contacting your representatives in Congress, letting them know how you feel about the ban, whether you're directly impacted by it or not. I've had people, like at my church and stuff, that because of hearing my story, they've reached out and said, to their representatives and say, hey, like, this isn't fair. Like, keeping families apart like this, just isn't right. So,
Exactly.
so
And it's like you're not stopping a country from coming in. You're stopping American citizens from access to the people that they love.
Mhm.
It's a crazy thing. So absolutely, we'll share the site and information along when we do a social media post. But I didn't mean to cut you off. So you guys are sending that for content so Congress can push back on the ban. Is there anything else to keep an eye out for?
I mean, those are the big ones. We had a major victory on Friday because one of the things that Trump signed is that now the Department of State is going to be required to have to release statistics and data, because they've only pretty much released 2 times some numbers, and they're very unclear and obscure as to what they mean. So
isn't that crazy? What you just highlighted is the thing that makes me most angry.
Yeah.
Because none of these hyped up, exaggerated, heightened scenarios were ever validated with facts. I mean, Trump himself, when he was trying to scare America by saying the border wall's a problem, actually showed videos of people crossing a border in Spain in the ad campaign that he had. And I'm like, that right there, that's a bold face. And then he's got the nerve to say that the media lies. Well, this fear-based campaigning is just crazy. It's insane. I'm glad that is a big move to force them to. That is a big win. You're right. To force them to quantify these statements. You can't just make these statements without proof. If there's proof, I'm all in. As long as there's proof, fact-based reasons why we can or cannot have our rights taken away. Because at the end of the day, that's what's happening. It's a government limiting our rights and limiting our access based on statements that they're making that don't even have a factual backup.
But you want to hear something really crazy?
Yes, please.
There's a court case out actually near you guys in California that's a class action suit against the Department of State and the government for the travel ban. And thankfully, again, the judge decided about a week or so ago to let that case move forward and not to throw it out. And one of the things he cited was that at these embassy interviews for people from these travel ban countries, that on the document where they do their decision, there isn't even a box to check accept. It's either straight out denied or refused and put into administrative processing. There isn't even a box.
Wow.
So, I mean, that kind of shows you right there,
It's so corrupt.
It's not right at all.
It's just racist.
Yeah.
It's racist is what it is. I mean, there's a difference between a government and a people.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference.
Yeah.
And to limit our access to loved ones is crazy. I think that's the hard thing for some people to relate to if they don't have relatives in other countries or have not experienced that. It's like, it's hard to be able to empathize with people. But when an American's going through it, it makes it a little bit easier for Americans to see another American going, hey, she's just like me, and then this guy seems like a great guy. I can't wait to share the pictures of your guys' marriage. Your wedding pictures are so beautiful. And you could just see it. You could tell sometimes. I know it's silly to say you could just tell by looking at a couple, but you can sometimes.
But do you think because he's from Iran, they make it hardest, or because I can
part of the ban?
Yeah. No, but if he's coming from Germany or Paris, it's less easy than Iranian or Middle East.
It's more easy. It's easier, because they're not in the ban.
Yeah.
But even within the ban, there's Iranians are being, especially with all the tension right now between Trump and Iran. And everything.
You're right. They've always Iran has always been like really targeted.
If you think about it, it's very hard to live in Iran. Very, very hard. So we should have compassion. If he's Iranian, we should make it easy for him. Because the life in Iran, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've made some amazing friends along the way, and one of them, she's living in Iran right now, and her husband, I mean, he's Iranian, but he came here, he went through the citizenship process and all, and I mean, they've been waiting over a year since her interview and still have.
Well, you know what? My mom actually brings up a good point. Like I have a friend who's Iranian who lives here. And recently, over the last maybe year or so, he said he remembers sending back money to his immediate family, and then they would give money to poor people in the neighborhood. But he said recently, because of the sanctions and the Iranian money, I can't remember what it's called, dropping in value so much that now the money that's getting sent back is being sent back to relatives who he's always known as having money. So because of the economy dipping so bad, I wonder if the number of Iranian applications is actually increasing, and if that might be having an impact as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly a lot of people being impacted, and I know we're hoping that with my husband going through Spain, that maybe that will help us, because a lot of the places in like Turkey and Armenia are being slammed right now because there's so many Iranians trying to go through there. Yeah. So
can I ask you a weird one? How about, have you been fantasizing about the day he arrives? Like what are you guys going to do the day he gets to America? Do you have like an itinerary planned of things you're going to do in the first places you're going to take him to in America to make him feel at home?
Yeah, we definitely every couple of weeks we revise it and talk about it.
That's so great.
No, I mean, I think the thing that most stands out is just picturing standing there in the airport and finally seeing him walk through the doors, knowing he's safe and knowing he's here.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited. I have a cat, so I'm excited to introduce him to her and,
well, he's
take
Iranian.
him to my parents' farm. And
Iranians love cats. As my friend Monster Brawny would say, the Persians are the cats of people.
I think the most important moment you feel it with joy when you meet him in the airport.
Yeah.
It's
big.
Incredible. Yeah.
Because we had that moment too.
Yes,
you specifically had that. Well, you could probably relate to this a lot because you and Tina were separated
I separated from my husband for a year and a half until I came to America. And it was unbelievable. I mean, I was shaking and, I met somebody I never met him before. And I have Tamer with me, but still, it's just like we knew to each other.
Right.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. So good luck And I'm sure
Thank
it's worth it because I can see from your face and your smile, he's a nice, nice guy. I can
That's wonderful.
tell. Because sometimes the love come a show in your energy, your face, a love show in your personality.
Like booze.
Yeah, yeah. You drink one scotch, that's it. You're going
It's like
crazy.
a shot of love.
I like that.
Yeah.
Shot of love.
Yeah. Oh, one is just you relax, you loose, you do anything you want. Just one. I didn't say two. Just
right.
well,
Well,
good luck.
thank you so much for being on the episode. Like, we loved having you,
Oh,
and please let us know if there's. Please come back on, first of all. We'd love to stay in touch with
Yes.
you and let us know as like things progress. And we'd love to keep having you on until the day you guys meet at the airport.
Yeah.
That'd be
Oh,
fun.
thank
Just give
you.
us
That
give
would
us
be awesome.
updates and stay in touch with us and we'll keep giving people updates on you and please keep letting us know how we can help.
Okay.
We'll list the site for people and get people to vote in more sensible laws and sensible restrictions and things like that.
More people listen, more they understand what's people going through.
Right.
Because some people,
Yeah.
they don't have any idea about that. So more they
Yeah.
listen, it's good. And please, if you come California, you have to visit us also.
Oh,
As
thank
a
We'll
you.
make you
couple.
food.
Yeah, as a couple.
Yeah, we'll do like a double date.
Yeah.
There we go. That would be perfect.
It's the creepiest thing I've ever said about going on a date with my mom.
Good luck, you know.
Thank you,
Yeah, we
guys.
wish you all good luck.
And thanks for dealing with all the tech stuff. We're really glad that we got to meet you and
Aw.
stay in touch.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.